some of you may be wondering why I seem to have a beef, if you will, with St. Fauci. I mean, for one thing, I just like to do the Fauci voice on the show. That's for sure. It's just fun. You can really lean into it. You know, I want to start doing a short series of videos like Fauci at the ballpark. Hey, you know, a hot dog, usually safe, but I cannot tell right now. I don't have the data. Did you cook it to 160-degree internal temperature? If not, there's bacterium. I'm a scientist. I know that bacteria could grow and it could give me what we in the scientific community call a tummy ache. And I would rather, while I'm here, engaged in mitigation with my mask on, watching a game by myself because, of course, no one can go in the stands. You get it, right? I mean, we like to joke around about the Mr. Fauci. Alumni of my high school, which I always just think is so funny. What a small world. But he is out there telling people to be very afraid. And I'm really sick of this routine. I think enough is enough. And here is an example of, remember, we've been going through this now where it was what? Lockdown began in March. So you get March, April, May, June, going in July. We're in at least March, April, May, June, July. We're in the 5th month of this now, of lockdown. And as I've been telling you, we're just in semi-lockdown. We're not in a phase of reopen. We're in a phase of lockdown. We should start to think of it that way because this is oppressive and tyrannical and stupid. Doesn't make any sense. Some of the stuff about mass gatherings, you know, you could have stopped that all along, but all this other stuff, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. You know, it's insane. It hasn't saved lives. The data doesn't suggest that it has saved lives. Look at countries have lockdowns, don't have lockdowns. Some do really well, some don't. How healthy is the population? How much did the disease spread before we know about it? There's all these factors. No one ever talks about that, though. They just listen to Fauci and you'll be fine. But step 1 of Fauciism, be terrified. Okay. Well, here he is telling us that even though we're at about, 40,000 cases a day, he could see us getting very quickly to 100,000. Play 7.
I can't make an accurate prediction, but it is going to be very disturbing. I will guarantee you that, because when you have an outbreak in one part of the country, even though in other parts of the country they're doing well, they are vulnerable. I made that point very clearly last week at a press conference. We can't just focus on those areas that are having the surge. It puts the entire country at risk. We are now having 40+ thousand new cases a day. I would not be surprised if we go up to 100,000 a day if this does not turn around. And so I am very concerned.
If we have 100,000 cases a day and hospitals are not overwhelmed and the fatality rate nationwide continues to go down, there's nothing to be concerned about. We are dealing with this and we are making progress toward herd immunity. That's what he's not telling you. We have all these people that are, wait for the vaccine. Might be 6 months, might be 6 years. We don't know, but just wait any day now or any decade. We're not sure. No, I don't want to sit around and have my life completely destroyed, ruined, because these morons insist that we not learn lessons from the beginning of this lockdown and look at what we now know that we did not know then. But there's something else that he said that is particularly, I would argue, particularly insidious. Notice it's not just, there's a surge in cases in some areas. He's like, we need to think about this as a surge in cases in some areas, therefore all areas. Oh, yes, it's coming your way. Those of you listening to this right now who are in parts of Indiana or Florida or North Carolina. Well, North Carolina's had a big surge, but, wherever you are in the country, if you're listening in Iowa, Montana, Arizona, it doesn't matter. The left is pushing. The Democrats are pushing with St. Fauci at the front of the pack for everybody to get pushed back into lockdown. That's what this is. If the cases get high enough, they'll try to scare you into going back into lockdown. But I'm here to tell you, this is what we have not, and I will return. And if in 2 weeks on this I'm wrong, I promise you I will come on air and I'll say, guys, I was wrong. I was wrong about this one. But I'm not going to forget this. So keep this in mind. There's a reality here. There's a record that we're establishing as we go forward. I'm here to remind you that while St. Fauci is speculating about 100,000 cases a day, and we're supposed to panic again nationally, not just in one area that's having a spike, the whole country. As of yesterday, the number of deaths in the 24 hours preceding was 370 across the entirety of the United States. So you have 330 million people, give or take, and that's not including illegal aliens. 330 million Americans, or maybe that is including them, I don't know. Although we always think that number's lower. I digress. And 370 people died from a pandemic that we are told we have to shut down society for again. Look, every life lost is a tragedy. We've already gone through the false choice of, if it saves just one life, shut down all of society. We don't do that for anything else because that's insane. And yes, there are people who are at risk from this disease, older people. There are people who are at risk every day from dying of heart attacks and cancer and other and pneumonia and the flu and other diseases too. This is just what it means to live in a very large country with a big population. There are going to be people who die every day from different things. Here's what I'm telling you. If we allow them to get their way, they're going to lock us down again, even though fatalities are 80% down on a daily basis from what they were in April, May. At least 80%. I mean, you were looking at, depending on whose numbers you want, 2,000 to 3,000 dead a day at the peak of this, and now we're at 370. And what they're telling us, of course, is, just wait 2 weeks. Just wait 2 weeks. That's when you'll really see how terrible this is. I'll come back to you. Mark it on the calendar. I'll come back to you on July 15th, and we will look at where we are. And, if we are under, let's say, under 1,000 fatalities a day from this, that means that this is under control. That's what it means. Because we'll have seen, it might be 300, it might be 500, but we're talking about a huge population. People are talking about hundreds of deaths from something that we're going to shut down the entire country of 320 million people. So unless we start getting numbers similar to, that's why I said 1,000, but 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 a day. And not all, if you have one day where it's 1,500 and then the next day it's 200, this just has to do with the reporting, right? It's not that all of a sudden a lot of people die, then no one dies from this. But fatalities are the single most important metric you can use to see how under control this is. And then there's another part of this too. Even if it turns out that we are in a spike and lethality is going up for reasons that a lot of people will be arguing over in the weeks ahead, we already decided this. This was already talked about as a country. This was told to us by all the politicians. Donald Trump has said this. Democrats have said this. We are not going to lock down forever. We have to go on living our lives. So even in 2 weeks, if I come back and you have to say, look, I was wrong that the fatality rate did increase in a way where clearly this disease has gotten a second wind against us, still doesn't mean we should shut down the whole country. So this is, take this day as a marker, and we'll see where we are in 2 weeks, because we keep predicting what they're going to do and what their reaction will be and how they're going to try to politically exploit this. And then they act like we didn't predict it and they didn't do exactly what we said they were going to do. And then we're still supposed to listen to them. Here's Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, for example, talking about how he views St. Fauci. Play 18.
Reality is a lot different. We've had 2,424 people die, and New York has had over 31,000. Even California has had almost 3 times as much as Texas. And remember, Laura, those 2 states have been locked down the whole time while we have been open. So locking down doesn't work. If it did, those two states would be doing better than Texas. Fauci said today that he's concerned about states like Texas that skipped over certain things. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We haven't skipped over anything. The only thing I'm skipping over is listening to him. You know, you have a lot of doctors on your show from day one. Your doctors have been right almost every time, and he has been wrong every time on every issue. I don't need his advice anymore. We'll listen to a lot of science. We'll listen to a lot of doctors, and Governor Abbott, myself, and other state leaders will make the decision. No, thank you, Dr. Fauci.
No, thank you, Dr. Fauci. A lot more people have to say this. And I give credit to Lieutenant Governor Patrick here for saying what is obvious, and I've been telling you for months. Fauci has been wrong and wrong and wrong again. Why are we listening to this person? What does he know? What has he told you that you did not already know? Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Wash your hands, social distance. But actually, no, wear a mask. Washing your hands, we think it works. Wearing a mask, maybe. Gotta wear a mask. Don't wear a mask, you're not believing in the science. We can only deal with these so many times. We can only hear them be wrong so many times before we decide that this is just too much. And then you have to recall the politics involved. Democrats want the country afraid. They want the economy frozen. They want things looking bleak and miserable going into November. And they don't have to get us all the way to November in lockdown for that to happen. They just want to extend this out as long as they can so that the up-ramp to get us back to feeling good about the country is more steep. We have less time. They're trying to run out the clock on America's recovery. That's what Democrats are trying to do. That is the purpose of so much of what we're hearing right now from them, and we need to remember that. You know, here's Vice President Pence, thankfully, who is saying that, yeah, if you look at fatalities, we're actually doing really well as a country in handling this pandemic right now. If you look at the per capita numbers, I would add, we did better than all the major countries in Europe, meaning large countries in Europe, Germany, Italy, France, UK, better than all of them. Germany and us, I think, are pretty close. But so what is this storyline we keep getting told that Trump failed, dereliction of duty, that idiot Biden says? It's all nonsense. Pence is saying, look, we have the lowest fatalities. Play clip 13.
And because of the dedication of our healthcare workers, because of our response and the response of the American people, we are grateful that today fatalities are at the lowest level since the end of March. We continue to be vigilant as we see rising cases. We understand that could change, but again, to see the precipitous decline in fatalities is a tribute to the healthcare workers in this country and to the cooperation and the compassion of the American people.
We are beating this thing. We are winning against the virus. You don't hear that from people. You got Fauci, 100,000 cases, mass hysteria, dogs and cats living together. No, that is not what is happening. Younger people intermingling who are at low risk from the disease with much more testing going on is not a cause for another lockdown. It is getting us to the herd immunity that we need, and also maybe an indicator of the virus weakening, which Italian doctors who are ahead of us on this curve in terms of the timing, they've been saying that there are prominent Italian doctors who say they believe the virus is weakening. And that's obviously a very complicated process, but it involves some human immune systems that are making it when the virus is making it such that when the virus is transmitted, it's a less virulent strain after dealing with certain people who have after dealing with their immune systems. We don't even really understand the mechanisms of this. I mean, keep in mind, we can't cure the common cold, right? There's a lot here that is even beyond science's ability to predict and even in some cases to really understand. But this is the truth of it. And also, remember how we were hearing, we don't have enough PPE. We don't have the ventilators. Bull. Trump gets no credit for this now. We had Cuomo day after day giving press comments. Oh, we're not going to have enough ventilators. Oh, we're going to run out of everything. Oh, we're all going to die. I mean, he was the worst. Cuomo was the worst on this. They were talking about making him president while this was going on. That's how stupid the media is. Here's the vice president who's been in charge of this effort saying, look, we're all stacked, racked, and ready to go here to help people, to get them the care that they need. Play 14.
With regard to testing, with regard to personal protective equipment, with regard to ventilators, with regard to therapeutic medicines, we are in a strong position all across the affected areas of the country to meet this moment. But in consultation with the states, we're going to make sure that they have the reinforcements in healthcare workers.
They've got what they need. They've got what they need. So there we are. There we have it. That's what you're not hearing from other folks. That's what you're not hearing from other people. You're not hearing from the media because they don't want to tell you the truth about this.
But I start off with the premise, Mike, that I'm going to follow the doc's orders, not just for me, but for the country. And that means that I am not going to be holding rallies.
Oh, what a convenient circumstance. Not going to be holding rallies. Wow. That's because Biden believes in the science so much. Not because he doesn't want to be in front of, let's be honest, a few thousand people max who are like, and hear him say, oh, that's why I'm running for head dog catcher of Tuscaloosa. I mean, president, That's what's really going. But oh no, he's just believing the Fauci wisdom. That's what he's doing. He's just trying to help Dr. Fauci get the message out. No rallies. No rallies. Why doesn't Biden condemn the rallies that are happening constantly on the streets? I'm just wondering if he's so worried about health, if he's not willing to hold his own rallies because of health concerns. And clearly this virus can be lethal. So why doesn't he have any words of criticism for the movements going across the country right now? Why not? What about that? No? Oh, no. BLM protests. They're magically immune from COVID-19, at least according to the media. Oh, they wear masks. A lot of people wear masks. They still somehow get infected. We never really get to talk about that, do we? A lot of people that were working in healthcare, in healthcare facilities, they're wearing masks all the time, still getting infected. That's why the guidance has been mask plus social distance. It's not wear a mask and then, hug whoever you want in the streets and breathe on each other all day. That is not the guidance. But Biden, what a lucky moment he has here. Yeah, I'm not going to do rallies because I believe in science. Also, sometimes I don't know what time of day it is, and so that's tough to be at a rally because where is the rally? Joe Biden, everybody, going to fix America. Sure. My friends, just when you thought the country had enough real problems to handle, the Democrats decide to cook up an oldie, but a goodie, one that they have not yet given up on. Russia collusion / Trump in Putin's pocket. Here we are again. After all this stuff, 4 years of this. Special counsel investigation and impeachment, which we don't even think about this anymore. They impeached this president like a bunch of maniacs on nothing. On a phone call where he's talking to a foreign head of state, and he kind of says, look into this thing about this thing if you can, if you don't, whatever. I mean, like nothing happens. The whole thing is just crazy. Oh, yeah, it's just impeach the president over this. Oh, foreign influence in our elections. Oh, Joe Biden. Oh. These people are nuts. And yet, here we are again. Russia. It's back. And this one ties in Afghanistan, too. Let me just say this. And I want to credit Rob O'Neill, best known for being one of the Navy SEALs on the mission to, and in fact was the man who shot bin Laden, Rob put out on Twitter, guess what, guys? You don't have to pay the Taliban for them to kill U.S. soldiers. They're just going to do it. They've been doing it for 20 years now. So thank you, Rob, for seeing through the nonsense that we're hearing on this. As if, a Taliban fighter who's offered $1,000 to kill an American all of a sudden will kill an American, but he wasn't going to before. I mean, when you really think about this, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Do I think that it's possible that the GRU had operatives that were talking to the Taliban about creating some kind of bounty system to go after U.S. troops so they could create headaches for us in Afghanistan? We all understand the mirror image of history here, that where the U.S. was assisting the Mujahideen against the Soviets back in the 80s. So we know that there's a real situation here. We know there's a reality where that could happen. But why are we hearing about this now? And we've been told, there's been all this back and forth. Oh, it was an intel assessment. It was briefed to this person, briefed to that person. Intel assessments get briefed to people on stuff all the time. Doesn't mean that they're necessarily true. Doesn't mean it's necessarily accurate. In fact, there's a lot of stuff that ends up getting briefed that is just simply absurd, right? Simply never going to happen. It's not true, but they're making assessments. They're working with imperfect information. This happens, right? I mean, need I remind you, we had the whole Iraq WMD thing, and there's been some problems. Been some problems in the intelligence community when it comes to assessments. Okay. So now let's take a look at the specifics of this. Why are we hearing about this? As I've been telling you, it's because they want to talk about Russia in a context where Russia is the great enemy and Trump isn't doing anything against Russia because he is Putin's puppet. And here's a part of this that we don't seem to somehow hear about. If Trump were Putin's puppet, why would the GRU be making life harder for Trump in Afghanistan by killing U.S. soldiers? Wouldn't that seem, they because this is the verbiage that they'll use. They'll say, oh, he's an agent of Russian influence in this country. Oh, he does Vladimir's bidding. Well, why would Vladimir's GRU, Putin's GRU, do this? It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. If you believe that, now I'm not saying the GRU would never put out this bounty. I'm just saying if you believe that Trump is actually Putin's puppet, then why would they do this? But there are two big reasons as to why this story. And remember, this was leaked. Someone leaked this to the press because you have all these. I've been telling you this all along. You're going to have all these people that are part of the deep state you've never even heard of that want to be great heroes for the hashtag resistance to stop the Trump presidency. And here we have an instance where, sure enough, they have done just that. But so you have all these great heroes of the resistance, and they're going to share information, even classified information, with the press if it hurts Trump. This is, on the one hand, because they want to just talk about Russia again. Even if you know that that's crazy, it doesn't matter. They're not telling you about Russia. CNN, the Washington Post aren't covering this for you. They're doing it because Democrats in New York and L.A. and Chicago and across the country and all the major blue districts, they still believe that Trump is tied in with Russia in a way that he's compromised, and they still believe this crap. Nancy Pelosi still says it on TV as of this week. So this is what the base wants to hear. It doesn't matter that it's not true. It doesn't matter that it's all a lie. They want to hear this. It gets their base fired up, and they're going to keep doing it. But the second part of this has to do with the war in Afghanistan. Trump keeps coming up against deeply, really overestimated and overrated national security minds on the issue of Afghanistan, who they always tell them, oh, you can't pull out. Oh, you can't do it. Oh, you can't end this. Mattis was one of these guys. Bolton is one of these guys. Oh, you can't end the war in Afghanistan. What would we do without the ability to immediately, call in a strike force into Jalalabad? How could anybody in Kansas or Oklahoma or Oregon or wherever, how could they ever sleep at night knowing that we don't have U.S. troops ready at a moment's notice to help out in Kandahar City? Come on. We have other things to think about, other things to do. We've been there for 20 years. If after 20 years, Afghanistan would collapse and crumble into civil war without us, obviously our 20-year presence hasn't had the intended effect and isn't going to. It's not going to happen. That's why we have this deal with the Taliban. I'm just going to skip to the end. Here's what's going to happen. The Taliban is going to do what it can to make it seem like it's, not being that violent and aggressive toward the United States as we're leaving, as we're hitting the exits. And then they're going to go after each other, and you're going to have tribal warfare. You're going to have factional fighting and probably some form of civil war in Afghanistan. That's what's going to happen. There is no future in which that is not going to happen. Right? We can allow that to happen now, or we can wait another 5 years, spend billions and billions of more U.S. dollars, have more U.S. troops getting maimed and murdered, in many cases by their supposed, Afghan compatriots, right? These infiltrators who are Taliban sympathizers who kill our guys at the shooting range or something because that's how they do things. So enough is enough. But there's also that segment of the national security apparatus and really the national security industry that just doesn't want to see us stop. Oh, we can't give up this mission. No. Lose our hard-fought gains in Afghanistan. I do not know. I know many people who served the military in Afghanistan, and I was there for the CIA a decade ago. I do not know a single person in or formerly or currently in the military who served in Afghanistan who thinks that we should keep fighting there. I don't know. I don't know one. Now, maybe some of the people that have become very close with their Afghan counterparts there from training them and assisting them, they have a bond of loyalty to people that have been with them, fighting alongside them. And I can understand and appreciate that, or at least I can appreciate it if I can't understand it, meaning that I've never done that. But from a policy perspective, I don't know anybody that thinks, if we stay a little bit longer, things are going to get better. So you have those two factors. This is why we're talking about Russia again. We should be talking about China, which just used its new national security law to arrest hundreds of protesters in Hong Kong, and the crackdown is going to happen. The Chinese Communist Party is going to win in Hong Kong. It just is going to take a long time. They're going to wait till people are tired of hearing about this in the news and everything. They're going to win. And China is a real national security threat to us. I mean, China is a big concern, and it's going to use its economic muscle in ways that will make Americans poorer and less safe going forward. That's their plan. Russia can't even get. Russia's got like $1 trillion total economy. Russia's biggest economic output is oil and gas. So they're not about to overtake us, okay? We're going to be okay. The Russians aren't the big threat. The Chinese are the big threat, but you can't even talk about that. Especially if you're in the NBA, you can't talk about it. No. If you're the NBA commissioner, China's treatment of the Uyghurs, a Muslim minority population in Western China, they can be put into concentration camps. They are kept in concentration camps by the Chinese Communist Party. That doesn't get any attention. We have all the social justice warriors in the NBA who will trash our own police, who are honorable public servants doing overwhelmingly a fantastic job keeping us safe until the Democrats don't let them do their jobs anymore. But we also have all these NBA superstars, multi-millionaires who want to make sure that their jerseys are still getting sold in Beijing. Want to make sure that they still have those TV rights for China to broadcast the NBA coming into the NBA coffers. And you have the NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, making that very clear. Play clip 8.
Has that relationship improved?
I feel it has. Our games are on Tencent, distribution platform in China. We've continued a dialogue with the Chinese, with our business partners there, in certain cases with certain government officials. And, we're just going to keep at it. We've had a long history in China, and certainly this is a bump in the road in our relations. Obviously, I think we all understand each other. As I've said before, we come to China with a certain set of core American values and principles. And I understand also they have a different form of government, and they have a different view of how things have been done, how things should be done. And hopefully we can find mutual respect for each other.
Yeah, the NBA commissioner here wants to make sure he shows all due submission and obedience to the Chinese Communist Party because it's so important financially to the NBA. Look, I get it. I'm not saying that the NBA has to be always about human rights and social justice all over the world or here in America. I just want to point out the hypocrisy of having all these players who, and the commissioner, who take the side of cops are bad, because that's really what this movement, BLM, is saying. Cops are bad and racist. The system is racist, and the cops are racist instruments of that system. But China, totalitarian, freedom-crushing, dissent-silencing thugocracy, China's got a different way of doing things. That's what Commissioner Silver has. They just got a different way of doing things. That's right. Bend the knee to Beijing because they're throwing so much cash at the NBA, but spit all over our cops, so to speak, because that's going to make this country better. It's all about social justice. That's the National Basketball Association for you.
Last question, real quick. Some have speculated,
You're a
sir,
lying dog.
that you are subject to some degree of cognitive decline. I'm 65. I don't have word recollection that I used to have. I forget my train of thought from time to time. You got 12 years on me, sir. Have you been tested for some degree of cognitive decline?
I've been tested, and I'm constantly tested. Look, all I got to do is watch me, and I can hardly wait to compare my cognitive capability to the cognitive capability of the man I'm running against. Thank you so much.
Isn't that great? He's asked the Democrats, great hope for the future, Joe Biden is going to save us all. He's asked about cognitive decline. He's like, yeah, I'm tested for cognitive decline every day. What? No, he meant like an actual test. Like has a medical professional. I'm constantly tested for my cognitive decline. Proof that I don't have any. Because I'm tested for it all the time. That's Joe Biden. There you go. He's going to fix it all, folks. He's got it all under control. This is the guy that we want in charge of everything. This is the guy that we are going to have running stuff. Yep, sure enough. Also, not only is he saying that he's not going to campaign because of Dr. Fauci, he's saying that the other side, Republicans, are rejecting science. Play 17.
And now, Donald Trump is in retreat. Remember, back in March, when I called, and he called, we talked about the need to act like we were at war with the virus. He called himself a wartime president. Remember when he exhorted the nation to sacrifice together and, quote, in the face of this inevitable and invisible enemy. What happened? Now it's almost July, and it seems like our wartime president has surrendered, waved the white flag, and left the battlefield. Today we're facing a serious threat, and we have to meet it. We have to meet it as one country. But the president gives no direction, and he pits us against one another. We can't continue like this, half recovering and half getting worse. We can't continue half wearing masks and half rejecting science. We can't continue half with a plan and half just hoping for the best.
We can't continue. It's juice time, and I want some cookies, and I need a nap. What is he saying exactly about the president retreating? Now, I think he has not been vocal enough on the statues and the mobs, but that's a separate issue. On this issue of COVID-19, retreat to me is going back into lockdown. Retreat is thinking that there's a future for America in a series of rolling lockdowns while this virus is still out there and going to be out there for at least another 6 months, maybe another year, maybe another 10. We don't know. We've given ourselves the ability to treat people. We've given ourselves the ability to have our medical providers give the best care they can to people and get as many people recovered from this as they can. And we have young people getting this disease and passing through it so quickly they don't even know they have it in large numbers. And that's how a society, we keep thinking, The left, the left elevates the scientists as a general thing. The left elevates the scientists to be people who always have the answers. And the problem is they don't have, and they love that because I think the state, if they have the answers from the scientists, can just do anything that it wants and take over every aspect of your life because, they're the true experts. They don't understand the humility that we have to have in the face of something like this. Our scientific community does not have the answers to this. They might at some point, but they don't right now. We are dealing with a health crisis that is causing social breakdown and pain and misery. And Fauci and all the rest of them have no answers about all the rest of that. They don't know. They don't have a path forward for us other than absolute mitigation effort of the virus continuously while the numbers continue to spike. So what we have is going toward herd immunity with the maximum amount of pain, dysfunction, loss, and politicization possible. That's a bad plan.